In at number 5 we have SCP-096, the Shy Guy. 096 is also known as the Shy Guy, but do not let his name fool you. His appearance alone can terrify even the toughest person. They are one of the most horrific SCP creatures of all. They are an emaciated, bone-white, hairless humanoid with long dangly arms and legs. This creature tends to be docile, but it has one trigger that makes them highly dangerous: whenever someone looks directly at their face. Their face has blank eyes and a mouth that can stretch up to 5 times the normal size of a regular human. No matter how close you are to this creature, if you look at its face, even from a far distance or just for a second, it will go berserk. If this happens, it will start to flail, cry and babble before chasing down the offender and violently attacking them. If 096 gets provoked and someone looks at their face, it will stop at nothing to take down their prey. There isn't an obstacle it cannot get past. It can smash through steel doors and walls, running endlessly across huge distances, and even able to swim to the very bottom of the ocean to pluck said offender and destroy them. The only ability it does not have is it isn't able to fly, but it uses its extremely long arms to run, similar to a gorilla that uses their arms along with their legs to walk, and they launch off the ground to gain air and distance for a quicker capture of their prey. If this destructive creature is able to get captured, they must have a bag put on their head to make everyone that is around them safe. But accidents happen, and they have happened. 096 is one of the most well-known, iconic and recognizable SCPs of all time. In at number 4 we have SCP-939, with many voices. 939 is known as With Many Voices, and they are a species of bright red amphibian predators, each one as big as an adult man, and they weigh over 400 pounds. They don't appear to have many vital organs, lacking a nervous system, heart or digestive tract, and their elongated heads have no eyes and a large set of glowing dagger-like red teeth. They are terrifying to look at, but also can cause mass destruction. Despite being literally brainless, they are smart due to the way they hunt their prey. They have the ability to imitate the voices of prior victims, usually repeating urgent phrases to lure a good Samaritan to come to their aid and then attack them with their deadly bite. They also exhale an amnesia-inducing chemical, so if anybody is lucky enough to escape being killed and eaten, there is a good chance they won't remember what just happened, and could possibly get fooled by the creature's tricks again. If you ever hear mysterious calls for help, make sure it's not 939, or you will be devoured by this giant red amphibian. They also like to travel in packs, which is even more terrifying, and once they lay eyes on their prey, 939s are persistent and will continue to pursue said prey until they capture them. This monster is believed by many SCP fans to be a version of the devil due to tricking humans into thinking they're innocent, taking advantage of their vulnerability, and ultimately leading to that person's demise. Using their massive mouth and sharp teeth to instantly kill their prey, 939 loves to prey on humans due to the fact that they can trick them so easily, and they can take advantage of people's kindness to lure them in.
In our number 3 spot today we have SCP-088. SCP-088 is a humanoid with reptile-like features which appears to be in a mummified form, but it's merely in a state of hibernation from which it may recover if it is exposed to a more hospitable environment than its current containment. Research has indicated that SCP-088 is approximately 6,000 years old and is capable of producing a variety of hazardous biological compounds from its mouth and hands. Some of these substances could be of great strategic value if replicated, but until a means to extract them without awakening SCP-088 is found, research is on hold. This demonic creature is currently sealed in its airtight case 24/7. The case is constructed of transparent acrylic plastic to resist the corrosive properties this creature possesses. This monster has been contained for more than 70 years and has only risen from its hibernation state twice. Each time personnel was exposed to the awoken demon, they experienced a painful mutation, after which they shared the physical characteristics of SCP-088. This creature also has demonstrated the ability to produce potent neurotoxins in liquid and gas form to combat containment personnel. SCP-088 was first recovered around the 1930s from a subterranean complex below Los Angeles, California. The site was originally discovered by a man known as GWS using a device he called a radio X-ray. After mapping a series of tunnels and gold deposits below the city, G declared that he found the lost city of lizard people as described in the legends of Arizona's Hopi tribe. The SCP-088 was recovered with the mummified remains of 23 other beings sharing similar morphology. However, none of these beings found with this creature were alive, and examination suggests that they may have been originally human or possibly even half lizard, half man. Due to this creature being so dangerous to humans, it's been very hard for people to be able to research it or its origins, so many findings relating to the SCP-088 can't completely be confirmed and may never be due to the damage it can cause to humans.
In at number 2 we have SCP-049, the Plague Doctor. 049, otherwise known as the Plague Doctor, is popular among SCP fans. At first glance, it's not the most terrifying creature out there. It's dressed like a man who was dressed in a black hooded robe and a silvery ceramic mask with long bird-like nose. It has since been found out that this attire is an extension of his body, being fused permanently and organically to his flesh. It is a humanoid entity around 6 feet tall and resembles the appearance of a medieval plague doctor. This creature's intent is ridding the world of the disease, which has yet to be elaborated on, so no one really knows what his true motive is. He selectively chooses which patients he wants to operate on, and his mysteriousness makes him even more terrifying. His touch is fatal, and when he has a cadaver to work on, he cuts them open with no medicine and makes them watch while he performs on them with a strange set of medical tools and serums. Once the operation is complete to the Plague Doctor's standards, the patients are never the same again, and they lack any higher brain power function, so they tend to roam around in a zombie-like state. 049 goes from patient to patient because that is what they enjoy and what motivates them, so they try and find the right match quickly. If they go too long without finding a victim, they grow impatient and go completely nuts, ultimately tearing their targets apart in anger. This demonic creature is smart enough to speak but usually chooses not to. He is silent but deadly. When he does choose to speak, he rarely deviates from the subject of curing the pestilence. Under no circumstance should you ever come in contact with this creature due to his unpredictability and sudden burst of rage. You never know what it will be like, and it could be deadly for you. The Plague Doctor is the stuff of nightmares and horror movies, and you should avoid it at all costs. And finally, in at number 1 we have SCP-682, the Hard to Destroy Reptile. One of the scariest and most well-known SCP creatures is the Hard to Destroy Reptile. It is a massive cold-blooded quadruped with more intelligence than a human. Despite being highly intelligent, he is also extremely dangerous and hateful towards pretty much every living thing. This demonic creature enjoys showing humans and other life forms his distaste for them by ripping them to pieces. It also has massive strength, speed, reflexes, and can regenerate flesh at a rapid pace, and is able to adapt to hostile environments in the blink of an eye. Other abilities this creature possesses is it can bring itself back from the dead. Many have attempted with everything from bullets to acid and fire to even nuclear bombs, but nothing can destroy this beast. Not even other SCP creatures are able to destroy this monster. It can also evolve and change its body when needed. It can consume organic or inorganic materials to provide for the necessary mass, and it has been known to grow additional organs. This creature was discovered by the Foundation after it killed a few farmers on the grounds of being disgusted. If you try and destroy him or get your revenge on this creature, good luck, because it is damn near impossible, hence its nickname, the Hard to Destroy Reptile. It could appear as though you did destroy it, but that is exactly what they want you to think. They will appear dead at first but then quickly adapt and find a counter to said opponent, returning to life with even more abilities than before. One example was that the beast was launched into the sun. It returned a few days later as a winged fire creature, which caused massive devastation when it landed back on Earth. The creature is one of the most dangerous creatures in possession by the Foundation for all its abilities and its hatred for all life.
Starting off in our number 5 spot, we have SCP-342. The SCP-342 creature normally takes the form of a mass transit ticket for the closest form of mass transportation to its current location. Currently, this demonic creature takes the form of a train ticket departing from an unknown station. When held by a person for any length of time, it will eventually change form into a transit ticket for a form of transportation its holder desires to use. This transformation always takes place when not being directly or indirectly observed, and there are no recordings of SCP-342 changing form. SCP-342 can inhabit any form of transportation ticket without being detected. If SCP-342 is validated by stamp, has its ticket stub torn off, or is disposed of in any way, it will reform into an unused ticket after a short period of time. Anyone who uses SCP-342 to board a vehicle is unable to exit their mode of transportation by any means. Once the vehicle ends its route or stops moving, the user will disappear from this reality. Users report an overpowering feeling of dread prior to boarding, and the feeling increases during the course of the travel, and shortly before their disappearance, they go into a panic-induced terror. There are many terrifying things the holder of this demon can experience, like seeing increased darkness in the sky outside of the vehicle, hallucinations, or a fear of other drivers, conductors, or other transit staff. As well as feeling threatened by other people around them, occurrences completely preventing the rider from getting off of the vehicle at any time, and seeing passengers simply appear suddenly then quickly vanish from their seats. All of these experiences are said to be like having paranoid schizophrenia. The terrifying experiences are usually only felt by the user, but sometimes bystanders and workers of the transit vehicle can experience feelings of uneasiness and will be compelled to exit the vehicle early, seeking other means of transportation. In our number 4 spot today, we have SCP-087. SCP-087, or otherwise known as the stairwell, is, you guessed it, a stairwell, and when you look down, it's pitch black with an unknown ghost-like figure at the bottom. This photo of the ghost figure has only been captured once, and we still don't know if SCP-087 is one entity or a group. The stairs descend on a 38-degree angle for 13 steps before reaching a semicircular platform. The design of this staircase limits subjects to a visual range of approximately 1.5 flights. A light source is required for any subjects exploring this creature, as there are no lighting fixtures or windows present. Due to the darkness and design, the subject needs an extremely bright source of light to be able to see the bottom. It's been seen that lighting sources brighter than 75 watts have been shown ineffective because SCP-087 seems to be able to absorb excess light. Subjects who have explored this creature have gotten an audio recording of what seems to be a distressed vocalization from what is presumed to be a child, but its age is unknown. The source of the distress calls is estimated to be located around 200 meters below the initial platform. However, any attempts to descend the staircase have failed to bring subjects closer to the source. The depth is believed to be far beyond the possible structure of both the building and geological surroundings. At this point, it is unknown if SCP-087 has an endpoint. Many people who have tried to learn more about this creature have suddenly gone missing during their exploration. It is believed that whatever or whoever is beyond the platform has extreme powers and can quickly grab the subject they desire, with no one even noticing. Many believe that either below the platform or at the bottom of the stairs is the gateway to hell, or even SCP hell, where there are hundreds or thousands of SCP creatures that reside there. The mystery of these disappearances and the fact that we don't know much about this SCP-087 makes it even more terrifying. We don't know what it's truly capable of, or if they work alone, or if it's a group of creatures preying on humans.
In at number 3, we have SCP-1983, Doorway to Nowhere. 1983 is a Keter class object under SCP Foundation's containment. It was combined by SCP-1983-1 and SCP-1983-2. 1983-1 is a one-story farmhouse in Wyoming. It was abandoned in 1968 after a series of rituals were allegedly performed there by a cult, and was discovered after a series of mysterious deaths in the surrounding area of a Wyoming county. The front door of SCP-1983-1, when opened, appears to contain a spatial anomaly. Neither matter nor light has been observed to exit the doorway. 1983-1 is accessible through other entrances, including windows, the back door, and entrances cut into the back of 1983-1. However, the front front room does not appear to exist inside of 1983-1. Doors that should lead to the front room instead lead to other doors inside the building. Measurements of the inside and outside of 1983-1 are inconsistent. Holes cut through the interior walls of 1983-1 that should lead to the front room lead instead to the outside walls around the front of 1983-1, but stop 3 meters on either side of the doorway. At some point the doors stopped leading to darkness and instead led to their natural rooms, which contain the remains of every agent or Class D sent in. Found in the abandoned building are 1983-2, which are creatures that appear as humanoids but are entirely black in color. Additionally, they are highly aggressive and will engage any human on sight. When an instance of 1983-2 meets a human, their animal instinct kicks in, and in a matter of seconds the human meets their fate. 1983 is presumed to have been neutralized by D14134, who was posthumously awarded the Foundation Star. Due to information contained in document 1983-15, it is believed that the anomaly was not localized as previously believed, and renewed resources have gone into attempting to locate similar incidents.
In our number 2 spot today, we have SCP-173. Moving on to our next creature, we have SCP-173, the Sculpture. At a first glance at this creature, it may appear harmless or just a little creepy, but as it is a roughly humanoid concrete structure with stubby arms and legs with green and red facial features made from Cryon brand spray paint. But don't underestimate its abilities from its looks, as this scary creature is incredibly swift and is known to capture anyone as its victim. SCP-173 is considered a Euclid class SCP with Class 4 hazardous containment procedures, and the very first being captured by the SCP Foundation. It is the most well-known SCP of all time, rightfully so. The creature's origin is still unknown, but one thing is for sure is that it is very hostile towards any life form. There have been reports of sounds of scraping stones within their container when no one is inside. To prevent SCP-173 from escaping, it must be locked in its container at all times. When personnel enters SCP-173's container, a minimum of 3 must be locked inside the container with the creature. To stop any mishaps, 2 people must maintain direct eye contact with him at all times, and they need to notify each other when they are going to blink, as it is only able to move when no one is looking. And for that reason, you may not want to take your eyes off of this one, or you may be in deep trouble. In our number 1 spot today, we have SCP-993. SCP-993 is also known as Bobble the Clown. This is a humanoid creature that directly resembles the appearance of a clown. Bobble is known for his cruelty and sadistic behavior hidden behind the cheerful and colorful face of a clown. It's the scariest thing in the world. Arguably one of the scariest SCP for the fact that his main objective is brainwashing children through a television show. Bobble performs illegal and immoral acts and takes joy from watching his victims suffer. Okay, creepy clown, don't invite him to your birthday party. Additionally, he takes delight in twisting and manipulating people through his television show. Bobble the Clown was first discovered by the Foundation after they found its show, where in every episode, Bobble would teach a new lesson to its viewers to do illegal acts and cause violence, while giving explicit step-by-step instructions on how to commit these crimes. These actions became ingrained into subjects' minds, making them obsessed to carry out the actions themselves. Additionally, repeated exposure to SCP-993's show will cause severe mental illness issues. Protocol for any SCP-993 broadcast is to be intercepted and blocked from public viewing, though episodes are regularly still getting broadcast from an unknown source. All broadcasts are to be recorded and stored for future viewing, while any subjects used to view SCP-993 must be given a Class A amnesiac after they have described the episode. With its short temper, Bobble the Clown can quickly lose his happy and cheerful mask and become incredibly sadistic, using his supernatural abilities to stalk and spy on enemies to find their weaknesses, making SCP-993 one of the scariest SCPs out there.
In at number 5, we have SCP-470, Abandoned Office Building. This SCP appears to be a large abandoned office building and has had no registered owner for years. The building was abandoned after the collapse of the corporation operation that used to house this building. The structure is 7 floors and is in a state of disrepair as it hasn't seen any sort of life since it was abandoned. SCP-470 is known for its rooms to internally shift and become other locations that have been abandoned for a great amount of time. These outside locations appear within SCP-470 all have to have no human interaction or observation for 20 to 30 years. The rooms in this building exist both in their original physical location and within 470 at the same time. The locations that appear in 470 will flicker from time to time as they are unstable. It has been observed that one can remove a room from 470 by increasing the levels of human activity at the original physical location of the room. That is manifesting. The longer the area has little to no human interaction, the stronger its connection with 470 is. At the beginning of the shift, rooms are only able to be manifested into 470 if they have absolutely no human activity. Though after long periods of abandonment, rooms are able to be manifested with as many as 14 people inside. The dangerous part about this SCP is that the rooms within it do not always originate in our human reality or dimension. Some of these rooms are constructed of non-terrestrial elements. No items or people are to enter or exit 470 or the external containment area without government approval. Additionally, anyone that is to enter must be equipped with a PSD tracking bug and be a part of groups in no less than 20 at all times to prevent any issues when observing 470. In at number 4 we have SCP-1730, abandoned building again. This SCP is known to be a large complex structure that is 15 kilometers northwest of the US-Mexico border. 1730 was discovered on June 5th and when it was found was in a severe state of disrepair as it was left abandoned for an extended period of time. It is also important to note that due to the low survival rate of individuals who have come in contact with 1730, it is possible that it had been previously discovered but unreported. Inside 1730 there was classified documents that supported the theory that the building was once Foundation Site 13 and originally located near Alaska. Upon discovering 1730 it was clearly abandoned, yet the site power generated continued to operate in a damaged state with multiple fuel leaks and fires throughout the facility. This resulted in power failures and hindering exploration and rescue missions. The origin of this SCP is still unknown, as is what happened within the building. It is believed that human survivors existed deep in the lower basement level of the facility. This is because there are messages written in English throughout the basement with warnings such as danger and what happened to Site 13. Furthermore, there were many entries of data that were collected by remaining functional terminals. The collected data consisted of site layout, staff information, and contained anomalies. The containment procedures is very specific for this SCP and consists of a 2-kilometer circular perimeter, with a quarantine zone that is established 1 kilometer from the SCP. People that enter 1730 must use hazardous contact preparation measures, including a reinforced airtight suit. When exiting the quarantined area, one must submit through decontamination protocols that are administered by the security staff. If failed to pass the quarantine protocol, individuals are held for further decontamination, or in the case of decontamination being unfeasible, termination is to be expected. In at number 3 we have SCP-106, the Old Man. 106, or otherwise known as the Old Man, is a terrifying looking elderly humanoid. Do not let his older appearance fool you, he is deadly. This creature has the general appearance of a human but looks like a rotting or decaying corpse. It is not too agile and can remain motionless for days at a time, waiting for his prey to come to him. This creature is capable of scaling any vertical surface and can remain suspended upside down indefinitely. When 106 will attempt to incapacitate their prey by damaging major organs, muscle groups, or tendons, they then pull prey into its pocket dimension. They prefer human prey from 10 to 25 years old, but if they haven't had prey for a while, they will take anyone or any living thing. This creature is very smart and has many abilities, making it hard to capture. They are able to cause corrosion effect in all solid matter it touches, engaging a physical breakdown in materials several seconds after contact. This is observed as rusting, rotting, and cracking of materials and the creation of a black mucus-like substance similar to the material that coats 106. It is also capable of passing through solid matter, leaving behind a large patch of its corrosive mucus. This demonic monster remains in a maximum secure area. No physical interaction with 106 is allowed at any time. All staff must stay away and they need to always stay at least 6 meters away from the cell, except in the event of a security breach. He resides in a sealed container comprised of a lead thread-lined steel, and it is sealed within 40 layers of identical material. The cell is also suspended in the air so that this creature can never be able to escape. Any object or material lost to SCP-106 is deemed missing, and no recovery attempts are to be made under any circumstances. If this creature escapes, it could be detrimental. Coming in at number 2, we have SCP-087, the staircase. Located in an abandoned building, the doorway leading to 087 is reinforced steel with an electric lock mechanism. Additionally, the door that leads to the staircase has been disguised to resemble a janitorial closet consistent with the design of the building, deterring people to enter. The high-intense security system in an abandoned stairwell is for good reason though, as this SCP is very dangerous. 087 is an unlit platform of descending stairs consisting of 13 steps before reaching a semicircular platform. The design of this SCP is to limit subjects to have a limited range when coming in contact with 087. A light source is required for any subjects exploring 087 as there are no lighting fixtures or windows present. Lighting sources brighter than 75 watts have shown to be ineffective, as 087 seems to absorb excess light. Subjects report audio recordings confirm the distress vocalizations from which is theorized to be from a human. These distressing calls for help is estimated to be located far below the initial platform. However, any attempts to descend the staircase have failed to bring subjects closer to the source. The depth of descent calculated from Exploration 4, the longest exploration, is shown to be far beyond both the possible structure of both the building and geological surroundings. And at this time, it's unknown if 087 has an endpoint. This seemingly endless staircase is cloaked in darkness, leaving exploration tips not for the faint-hearted. Many people that have chosen to explore the inside of 087 have disappeared inside and never returned. It's unknown if 087 is the cause of their disappearances, though it is most likely. 087 is aware of the Foundation's presence, as it will stare into discarded video equipment. Individuals who manage to escape 087 and get back to the top of the staircase often have long-lasting mental issues and physical fatigue. In every documented exploration of 087, every subject has witnessed 0871 appear nearby. It will either stare at them from the darkness, causing mental degradation, or lunge at or chase them through the stairwell in an extremely violent and aggressive manner. That's my worst fear. I hate going upstairs. I don't want to be chased. Do you feel that fear when you go up a set of stairs? That someone's just going to start running? No, it's that someone's just all of a sudden going to start running behind you and chasing you. Yeah, but that's the fear. You can only go so fast up a set of stairs. Due to the results of the final exploration, no one is permitted access to 087. Knowing all of this, and the many individuals who failed to come out of 087 after no exploration, you now know that the door is sealed for a reason. And finally, in at number 1, we have SCP-563, Abandoned Plot of Farmland. Known as the abandoned plot of farmland in China, 563 is where the other SCP livestock were recovered. The facility of 563 has since been discovered, been modified for the factory farming of animals that weigh up to several tons. 563 is equipped to handle orange poultry, but specifically SCP poultry. At the time of recovering 563, the livestock of 563A, for instance, was found. Several SCP species of dinosaurs and related reptiles that are native to China and Mongolia in the Jurassic and Cretaceous period. When alive, 563A were farmed to create instances of 563B. 563B is the prehistoric food line of products made by a company known as the Ancient Dragon Culinary Corporation. Records of this company have been found, but the locations of their main office and the institutions involved in the production of 563B has not yet been established. 563B products are sold in several East Asian countries, but have been discovered in some supermarket chains in the USA. Various instances of 563B include dragon bone tea, ancient dragon velociraptor noodles, and Kentucky fried Tyrannosaurus. Posthumous examination of all 563A instances found that up to 79% of the individuals found had prion in their system prior to their death. Testing on this prion found it to be similar to prion that causes Kuru, suggesting that 563A instances had been fed or were feeding on the meat of the same species. Notably, most species of raptor found on site were immune to this prion. The containment procedures for for the 563 consistent of all carcasses of 563A have been removed from the farmland, within minimal containment of 563 required. It is to be surrounded by a perimeter of motion trackers at every 3 meters to track any sort of movement.
Number 5. SCP-880. SCP-880 is a Euclid-class object, manifesting itself as an entire town in Quebec, Canada. Le nom propre de la ville, c'est sorry, my language settings get stuck sometimes. The village's name is redacted, and most information surrounding the village of this manor is redacted as well. The exact date of the town's construction is redacted, but can be said to be the 18th century. Classified intel recovered from inside SCP-880 lists an unknown date in the 19th century as a date for when it was abandoned. All roads and entrances into 880 have been destroyed, scrapped, or altered so that they all join to an exiting roadway just outside of SCP-880. SCP-880's most notable characteristic is that it's producing what appears to be a perpetual blizzard, with small pauses occurring for roughly an hour to 2 hours a day. Interestingly, SCP-880 does not actually experience any snowfall. These intense winds merely simulate the appearance of a blizzard. Recordings of anything entering SCP-880 during a storm episode have been irrevocably lost. Extensive search efforts turn up inconclusive results. No traces of anything lost can have ever been recovered. As the storm begins, all GPS technology, navigation, and other comms are all cut due to overwhelming interference. At the time of this recording, currently 32 SCP Foundation members have been lost to 880. Interestingly, none of the buildings present have experienced any decay at all since its first discovery. Small excursions have reported a slight stasis-like effect, with fireplaces still having glowing embers, and some food left out not rotting in any way. These items, when removed from SCP-880, have been subject to rapid decay. Most concerningly, a census document inside the town hall has shown an increase of 32 people in the town's population since its discovery. And if you have an interest in how the Foundation works, we have a well-stocked archive of SCP content. Please consider subscribing for future endeavors. Number 4. SCP-1529. SCP-1529 is a Euclid-class object which presents itself as a humanoid entity living in Nepal, situated in the summit of Mount Everest, approximately 8,000 meters above where human acclimatization is thought to be possible. It is observed at all times by telescopic and video feeds from researchers at a safe, redacted location in the People's Republic of China. When necessary, helicopter surveillance will be used. Physically, SCP-1529 does not appear particularly abnormal. It stands at an average height and average weight, and is dressed in white mountaineering gear. Its face is entirely obscured by its hood and an oversized pair of opaque black goggles. SCP-1529 has never been observed to be wearing anything else, and at this time, it's unknown if the clothing SCP-1529 wears is clothing, or rather an extension of its body. SCP-1529 experiences bouts of inactivity where it lies completely motionless. These recorded periods of inactivity have a great variance between them, with extremes ranging from 17 minutes to a full 8 months. The medium hovers around 23 days of inactivity. When the entity is in an active period, it can be observed climbing to the upper reaches of the mountain with no particular direction. It doesn't need to use any form of equipment, relying solely on its hands and feet. And while traveling, it ignores ropes and ladders, and has been studied climbing in ways that should be impossible by any human climber. Humans that have made their way into SCP-1529's territory while it's active are tracked and hunted. The entity will attempt to interject itself between climbers and their summit. Once it makes contact, victims find themselves unable to break eye contact with SCP-1529 and start to feel warm and pleasant, and feel enticed to sit down and relax. The data on what happens next has been regrettably purged from Foundation files. In almost all cases, death by hypothermia occurs 1 to 2 hours after eye contact with 1529 has been made. Since 1924, 220 people have been lost on Mount Everest. It is currently unknown how many of these cases are incidents with SCP-1529. Number 3. SCP-1471, the app. Another SCP for the digital age is SCP-1471. It's a Euclid-class object, and it refers to an app installed on smartphones, measuring just a little under 10 megabytes of data. It is referred to as Mal-O version 10.1 on digital marketplaces. This app doesn't appear to have any developer or user data attached to it. Now, it goes without saying, but please after this video do not attempt to look up or acquire this application. We work tirelessly to keep it from manifesting more. It's proven difficult to remove once it makes its way onto the storage of a mobile phone, oftentimes reinstalling itself or even outright preventing itself from being removed from the phone. After the application has been installed, no icons or shortcuts or even any data appears to be altered. The only noticeable change is that you will begin to receive text messages every 3 to 6 hours, and these messages enclosed will contain images of an entity with a canid-like skull and long flowing black hair. Again, these images that you're seeing, while they are real images of SCP-1471, they have been carefully edited to remove any lasting psychotropic energy. No need to look away. During the first 24 hours after installation, users will receive images taken from places frequented by the afflicted subject. As time progresses on a week-long trajectory, we'll start to see the afflicted user receiving images taken from locations that they have very recently visited, places like a grocery store, a pharmacy, or an office, and so on. On a 72-hour timeline, we begin to see the individual receiving images that have been taken in real time of the subject, with the entity hereto referred to as SCP-1741-A appearing directly behind the subject or in extremely close proximity. These individuals report that the canid skull entity is attempting to make communications with them, although they are unable to. To date, we have not observed any instances of hostile activity from SCP-147-A, and its desires are currently unknown to us. Number 2. SCP-4666. SCP-4666 is a Keter class object, appearing as a single emaciated humanoid resembling an elderly male. The entity has never been observed wearing anything, even during extreme freezing conditions. It is currently unknown how SCP-466 is able to accomplish this, as the extent of some of its anomalous properties are still being researched, but it does appear to be capable of instantaneous travel. It experiences bouts of activity within a period of the same 12 consecutive nights every year, from December 21st to January 1st. This period is known as its active phase. During its active phase, SCP-4666 makes contact with humans. Internally, we refer to these events as Weihnacht events. Over the years, there have been several Weihnacht events. All known occurrences feature the same characteristics. They have occurred in isolated homes, usually rural, and they are always families with young children. And the area being afflicted by SCP-4666 is blanketed in a thick, heavy snowfall, which is where the term Weihnacht event comes from, stemming from the German words for white night. The first week of activity will focus on SCP-466 observing their target. The children will report seeing the entity in nearby fields, forests, or in some extreme cases, directly outside a window. From here, children will report loud sounds of footsteps and foul odors produced through the house. Investigations after a confirmed Weihnacht event have shown nothing explainable producing either of these. The final night of the activity period is when 4666 will strike. Most regular occurrence is that SCP-466 will eliminate the entire family, save for the children who are missing from the scene. However, there have been several reportings of Weihnacht events where no victims are found. In these events, no harm is done to the family. Instead, the children will discover presents at the feet of their beds, but upon opening them will discover grisly toys crafted from the remains of previous victims. And finally, SCP-3799 is a highly dangerous Keter-class object manifesting as a meteorological phenomena occurring in Crozier Island, Greenland. No access to Crozier Island is permitted for any Foundation members or civilians. The object initially resembles a snowstorm or a blizzard, but laboratory studies of the snow produced reveal that it contains almost no physical connections with snow, and instead an anomalous compound. The snow created by SCP-3799 has incredibly powerful cognitive dissonance abilities. Exposure to it will slowly alter the thoughts of its host, causing observed individuals to become obsessive about the substance, attributing it to feelings of intense euphoria and enlightenment. This has led to a disturbing belief internally that exposure to the snow will result in transcendence and a feeling of nirvana, ascending to a higher existence. In our interviews, affected subjects have been unwilling to explain this further. The compound contains a disturbing property when in contact with human cadavers, slowly breaking down the body and converting it into more of the snow-like substance, hereto spreading its influence widely. This obsession leads to victims intentionally offering themselves to the entity to widen its reach. The only notable substance that has had any countering effect towards the snow is human blood, which it detests. In one such occurrence, it had such dominion over the Foundation at Site-779 that they had rewritten reality in such a way that the SCP Foundation became the SCF Foundation, the Snow Containment Foundation, dedicated solely to its growth and study. This reality would soon collapse in on itself, with SCP-3799's influence encroaching the planet. A declassified document shows that a researcher from this reality sacrificed himself into the heart of the entity on his Site-779. By bleeding excessively into the entity's heart, he was able to revert the cognitive changes, restoring temporal reality. The only souvenir is a perfect sphere of snow with a human cadaver contained inside, wearing an altered SCP uniform not recognized by any branches or teams. Hello viewership of Top 5 Scary, I've been told it's a pleasure. My name is Taylor, and as some of you may know, in part of an ongoing effort from the SCP Foundation's new and improved PR department, we've been reaching out to YouTube channels like Top 5 Scary to demystify and explore the nature of our work for the purposes of education and mild recreation. The following SCPs have recently had photos of them declassified, and we thought you as the public might enjoy this. Now all the images you see in this video might not be 100% accurate, some are depictions or recreations, but it was done for your safety. Some latent psychotronic energy can be transmitted through photos. Let's waste no more time and dive on in. Number 5. SCP-3199, the Refuted. Our first entry to be cleared for discussion is SCP-3199, a Keter class object, sometimes referred to colloquially as the Refuted, but we prefer not to use sensationalized words like that internally. This photo you're looking at was a photo taken by a researcher when SCP-3199 was being brought in on its first recovery. SCP-3199 refers to the documentation of an entire species of sapient biological entities of currently indeterminable origin, but we're working on it. We found several tissue samples and have found presence of chicken, chimpanzee, stoat, mussel, adders, and trace amounts of human DNA, muddying the waters of just what exactly our friends here are. Now fascinatingly, these creatures produce eggs to fill unoccupied space within their bodies. They reproduce asexually, and from our studies it's been shown that there does not appear to be a limit to the number of eggs inside a single instance of SCP-3199. It's fascinating. The current theory is that on a long enough timeline, a single instance of SCP-3199 could potentially perform an LK class species transmutation scenario, which I don't think I need to tell you we'd all prefer to avoid. All instances of SCP-3199 carry one egg within a specialized stomach-like organ, assuring that even after death, a living instance will carry on. Interestingly, this egg-laying process appears to cause SCP-3199 extreme distress, with some researchers noting that the sounds produced by the entity are not dissimilar to screaming, to quote the lab report. SCP-3199 is carefully monitored, as the creatures have been shown to be very opportunistic hunters, reacting violently defensive towards live subjects that approach their hatchlings. When an SCP-3199 feels that its young has been threatened, it will attack at a subject in a way I am not entirely authorized to discuss, but the process is quick and it liquefies the internal organs and bone structure of the victim, rendering them dead almost immediately. We have not observed any instances of SCP-3199 consuming prey in this matter. All instances are kept in containers of acid-resistant steel, and in extreme cases, stored in a block of transparent acrylic resin. And if you're curious about more information on bizarre entities from the SCP Foundation or otherwise, please consider a subscription to Top 5 Scary. It's best to stay informed. Number 4. SCP-2774, the Sloth. Don't panic when I tell you some of this. I promise you all of the images that are being shown to you have been carefully vetted and went through all proper channels before being displayed in this video. No one here is looking for a repeat of the SCP-096 incident. SCP-2774 is a Keter class object and refers to any visual medium that contains the subsection SCP-2774-A. This subsection is an image of an unknown, possibly humanoid entity in what appears to be wearing a realistic sloth costume. Now, effects of viewing an image of SCP-2774-A don't occur immediately, but rather gestates on an incubation period of anywhere from 40 to 100 hours after that initial exposure. Those afflicted will slowly begin to lose their cognitive function and higher level decision making, and this usually occurs for short bursts, around 2 to 3 minutes, seemingly at random intervals every 24 hours. Please don't worry, all the images in this video have been heavily edited by the Foundation before being sent over. No threat is present. SCP-2774-A manifests itself in various forms of pre-recorded media. There was a notable incident in Fredericton, New Brunswick, where SCP-2774-A appeared for a few frames on a local television broadcast, which resulted in a mass hysteria case where over 4,000 people had to be tended to and relocated by the Foundation. We currently believe that SCP-277-4A possesses some level level of enhanced ability the more people that are currently affected by it at once. It manifests more vividly the more people are affected, so to speak. Those infected by this cognitive loss have been observed to become incredibly fearful and irrational, very agitated. They report no memory loss, but they have no ability to comprehend their affections or understand what is happening. Some subjects in interviews have even reported that they felt completely powerless except to obey their basest thoughts, describing their body performing actions autonomously. We've observed in some cases that subjects who become afflicted by SCP-2744-A develop an obsession. In some longer observations, we've seen effigies, artistic renderings, and even writings being made by the subject, in some of the recovered subjects from the Fredericton incident. You're probably curious how the Foundation works to contain a non-physical object like SCP-2774. Well, I can't disclose everything. We do have automated programs scanning most broadcasts for patterns of it, which are swiftly detected and destroyed. These programs are of course overseen by manual observation. We can't trust everything to artificial intelligence. Any instance in which we have reason to believe a person has been inflicted by SCP-2774 in a way that will cause them serious harm are temporarily relocated to Subject Site 116, where they are given top-of-the-line care from our medical staff round the clock. Number 3. SCP-924. SCP-924 is a Euclid-class object, appearing as a species of pale humanoid entities, measuring roughly 7 feet in height. They have a similar appearance to Wendigo myths described in northern culture, with emaciated bodies resembling a waterlogged corpse, with several bony antler-like growths protruding from the top of their head. A unique feature is the external gills present below the ribcage. These creatures are Arctic predators and need a freezing environment to survive, and will experience bouts of sickness and exhaustion should the water temperature rise. As such, the Foundation keeps them in separate saltwater tanks in freezing cold conditions. They are provided 85 kilograms of fresh meat monthly, and any capture or hostile interference is handled by our Task Force Tau 2, nicknamed Polar Pathfinders. First discovered after a string of disappearances of ice fishermen around glacial areas of the United States, this attracted Foundation attention. The creatures are ambush predators, attacking their victims from beneath the ice by wading under holes in the ice, or simply breaking through to attack in some situations. SCP-924 tracks its victims through vibrations on the surface of the ice with alarming effectiveness. Victims are dragged into the water and are swiftly consumed. Remains are released after 1 to 6 hours. Autopsies conducted on recovered bodies have revealed that the bodies contain high levels of an unknown infection, which breaks down flesh but manages to leave the bones untouched. This bacteria remains for up to 2 weeks after feeding and recovery, so special care must be taken when disposing of any waste. The species has been shown to migrate, and the areas it can inhabit no longer support a consistent supply of fresh prey. And although the creatures require a freezing climate, they have been witnessed in some desperate events exploring outside of their territory, and are shown to be capable of supporting themselves on brief land excursions. Task Force 2 has revised their protocol since this incident and are confident no other issues shall ever occur. Number 2. SCP-323, the Wendigo. And this one is always a bit popular when we do these PR excursions, so I'm happy to talk about it. This is SCP-323, a Euclid-class object. It manifests as the skull of an unidentified curvid, with a pair of massive antlers growing from the left and right sides of the skull. And the skull shows normal outside exposure damage. It's got a bit of scarring, weathering, and bleaching, and a broken lower mandible. Now interestingly, the back of the skull has a centered depression, and this gap shows signs of tool wear and use, suggesting that the gap was carved with tools, likely stone, and there is a small chance the skull as a whole was carved, but low. SCP-323 appears to have some sort of radius of mental control. We've recorded a very powerful influential effect spreading roughly 15 meters outside of the object. Individuals affected by this radius, which some researchers have unofficially dubbed the terror radius, find themselves overwhelmed with extreme urges, predominantly violent. More often than not, these subjects report feeling extreme desires to consume human flesh. Roughly 3/4 of all individuals that have been afflicted by the terror radius will attempt to place their heads through the gap in SCP-323, keeping their mouth uncovered while they do this. Should a subject find themselves unable to put the skull over their own head, well, we've seen in extreme cases in which the subject will attempt to physically alter the shape of their head, bludgeoning on nearby objects, or until the subject expires. Once the subject is able to mask themselves with the skull, we consider them a new entity, hereto referred to as SCP-323-A. And this new entity is shown to have extreme pain resistance and increased strength, but very interestingly does not appear appear more durable than a standard human subject. This creature then demands food and feels pangs of starvation 15 minutes after transformation. It only seems to consume human flesh, and we have observed it to outright refuse any other sources of meat. It even appears to speak in short statements in Cree, Tawatomi, and Severn Ojibwe languages. Number 1. SCP-106. SCP-106 is a Keter class object and is one of our more famous, frequently asked about objects. It is sometimes referred to unofficially as the Old Man due to its appearance resembling an elderly human male, albeit one that is severely decomposed. SCP-106 causes a profoundly strong corrosion effect in all solid matter that it makes contact with, causing whatever it touched to break down in a matter of seconds. We've observed this occurring on a wide variety of substances, ranging from things like concrete, steel, plaster, to flesh and tissue. You can see it rusting, rotting, and cracking, and a creation of a viscous black-like substance wherever it's been. This substance is highly toxic and is very, very effective at breaking down living tissue. Through this corrosive effect, SCP-106 has been observed being able to pass through solid matter entirely, leaving behind large swaths and trails of the mucus as it vanishes into the surface. While it's doing this, it appears to enter a pocket dimension. It's then able to exit this dimension from any point connected to the original entrance. For example, as a thought experiment, if it connected a point to a wall, it could then exit through the ceiling. As of this recording, we're still trying to ascertain if the dimension is the point of origin for 106, or merely something it accesses. Through limited research and observation, we've discovered that the pocket dimension appears to be comprised of mostly seemingly uninteresting hallways and rooms manifesting as a nondescript office building, following no clear sensible layout. We've seen some cases where victims are pulled into this dimension and kept captive for days on time, but for what purpose though, currently unknown.